Hey everyone, welcome back to Gun Tote Minnesotan. Because of interest, there were some comments about the other CVLIFE 5 to 25. This is an MOA version, and so I'm going to do my best just to show you a little overview as well as a quick unboxing, just to get an idea of what's inside. So you're going to have your card here, which is going to give you some of the information necessary about the reticle, the scope itself, specifications. The title of this is the BearSwift 5 to 25 by 56 first focal plane. This one, again, happens to be in MOA. So there's a reticle schematic there. It's going to give you some of the values that are pertinent to know about, how to set your ocular focus, turret adjustments. If you've never done something like that before, this could be a very valuable piece for you. So don't lose that, hold on to it. You have a throw lever accessory, which I'll be mounting on in just a moment. Actually, I'll put that aside. I'm going to put it on as soon as I get the scope out. You do have a tool, 2 batteries, which is really neat that they include 2 batteries. This is for your ocular lens. The only reason that it's not installed from the factory is because they have the sunshade that it comes with over the housing there and it wouldn't fit. So this is actually a good box design, well thought out. Here are the rings. So the rings are like basically a tall designation. And I'll take them out of the package and we'll see a little better in a second, but they have 2 Picatinny retaining hubs there, little nubs that lock into your Picatinny. Sunshade, of course. A lens cloth. I'm going to push all that aside and get the optic out. So the first thing I'm going to do is take out the mag ring assist lever here, because I know I'm going to want to use it. It's just very convenient. And when I'm going from 5 to 25 power, that little assist right there, I should probably go the other way, that little assist right there is going to give me a lot of leverage and just helps make this smooth ring feel a little bit lighter as far as the effort is concerned to go from 5 to 25 power quickly. The ring itself does have a texture on there, and it's a sufficient texture, but it's faster to grab onto the assist, obviously. Now I'm going to throw on some ocular protection there for the lens. These flip cap covers appear to function well, and you can adjust them where you need to. Since I have a bubble level typically right in this range on the left side, I tend to make my flip caps go on the other side so that my field of view is not obstructed and that I can actually kind of see through a little better. Here's the ring. It is a Torx or star bit, which I appreciate quite a bit. That's what I'm looking for in hardware in general. Tall size rings, the reason that they provide tall size rings is because these generally fit with more products on the market, and I'm glad they went with Picatinny and not Dovetail, because that would be an issue. So Picatinny is appropriate and the Torx is appropriate. The high height, it may be appropriate for you. You may prefer mediums instead. But the nice thing about highs is it'll get you started. So everything you need is in the package. As previously mentioned, this is an MOA. So lots of small, close together clicks. That's the feel anyways. I can hear them. They're audible. I can feel them. They're tactile enough. The zero stop appears to physically stop it where it should. On the side here, you're going to see you have your illumination settings, which are going to be 1 through 6 with off in between. I have it on an off setting right now. It's appropriate they have an off setting just so that you can rapidly be on the number you want to. I'm going to go ahead and open up the housing. It probably does not ship with a battery in it. Nope, not one in there, so I'll go ahead and pop one of those in. So I'm going to take this 2032 lithium battery, thread it back in. If you can't get enough grip with your hands, you could use a coin. This has a coin slot head on it. And I'm content just to use my hands for that. There we go. And now I'll flip it open and give it a peek on level 6. Yep. And it looks good. Looks like a good amount of illumination. Taking a look at the reticle with illumination, I just close the cap so you can get an idea. There's 1 power. There's 2 power. 3 power, closer to night vision settings. 4 power, starting to get to a dusk brightness. Around 5 power there. and this is on 5x. Now, because we're up to a little brighter setting, I'm going to go ahead and move from 5 power and 5 magnification. I'm moving magnification up to 10 power, so you can see that the stadia is lightly illuminated, and the core crosshairs there is much more illuminated. I'm going to go ahead and magnify that, zoom in just a little bit if I can, and then we'll go up to 6 power. So 6 power is pretty bright in the center, and the other stadia are brighter. I'll back off. Now I'm on, right here is 10 power again, and this is what you would be looking at on 5 power. So the practical part of this would be, in my mind, that the reticle crosshair and that portion right there that is the brightest, that's the most functional part of illumination for me, is just a center point of aiming, almost like a red dot. And if I were to open up the cap, now the eye box is going to change because of the way the mount is set on here, but I have a light on in the background, of course. I'm going to back off here a little bit. You can still see that there's kind of a white hot center there. I'm on 12 magnification. That's the field of view that you see. And there's still enough residual illumination that I can see the stadia illuminated lightly, and the center crosshair is still pretty bright. I'm going to move down, back down to 5 power, and refocus. So at 5 power, it almost looks closer to like a red dot appearance. I can place that bright red dot on something. It's not going to be daylight or desert bright, but it's going to be fully sufficient for the kind of settings I shoot in, usually early morning or dusk, or just a dull day in general. A cloudy day, I still think you'd be able to pick this up decently. I definitely appreciate that the majority of the illumination is just the center crosshairs. That's the way that illumination should be done. Taking a look at the parallax, it does go all the way down, and turn this around, to 10 yards. So 10 yards is pretty good. You could put this on an air rifle, which is what I'm going to do. You could put it on the center fire because the parallax, the knob itself is a little firm. It does go up to infinity technically, and there are indicators on there for your 10, 15, 25, 50, 100, 200, 300, 500, and then just right up to infinity. There's not a lot of distance between the 500 marker and infinity. Obviously, most people are not going to be shooting it quite that far, but if you are, there's some markers on there which may or may not line up for your eye. You can see on the bottom, it's been nitrogen filled. This optic should be shockproof as well as fog-proof, which is nice to know if you're going to use it in a hunting situation, especially changing conditions as you're indoor, outdoor, or maybe just the rising of the sun, like here in Minnesota. It changes the temperature quite a bit and things can fog up on us. I don't typically need a sunshade, but if you do, it does come with a threaded sunshade here. So let's remove the front cap and gently find those threads so that I don't cross thread it. And once it engages, let's see, right about there, just going to thread it in, and this is going to prevent direct sunlight or shine off your barrel, maybe off of snow, something like that, from overwhelming your image. It does add to the overall length of the package. Some people like that quite a bit. They like the aesthetic. For me, I'm not in a really sunny place where I'm shooting into the sun very often, so I'm actually just okay with this footprint right here. But it's nice to know that if I need it, I have one. When you're installing your rings and eventually your scope, you're going to make sure that you're on a level surface. That is priority number 1. So I checked this for level prior. Go ahead and tighten my rings up using the provided tool. Again, this is Starbit or Torx. Now that I've got my rings installed on the Picatinny, I'm going to go ahead and put my optic in. And normally I'd throw a bubble level across the top as well, but I know my base is level here, and I'll be able to adjust that, fine tune it in a second with another CVLIFE tool. Throw the rings on top, and I'm going to tighten those down. Torque to spec, don't go beyond the specs. This here is a CVLIFE product. This is a bubble level which has some fine adjustments on it that can be attached. I can't mount it up completely the way that I normally would use a product because Amazon or YouTube will have some issues with that in the video portion, but I'm going to tell you that it has an adjustment wheel here, and as I open my adjustment wheel, it allows me to open up both sides and pull this down. I'm actually just going to pull this out for a second. So I would attach, and it's got rubber on the inside. That rubber is going to protect everything, your coatings, your paint. Can attach it again and tighten it up. And as I snug it up to whatever I'm trying to level, whether that be a barrel or maybe a scope itself and the scope body, it's not going to crunch it, just finger tight and snug. And then this right here is actually on a hinge. And as you can tell, there's a spring underneath to provide constant tension. And that's going to allow you to fine tune the actual level itself and get it to where it needs to be truly level. And in addition to this unit right here, which is very useful and can be used either on a scope or on a barrel itself, you could also use the included bubble levels. And it comes with 2 precision ground bubble levels in this kit that are just like this. Pretty well made, nice bottoms to them, nice and flat. I've checked for level and they are consistent with one another as well as consistent with the other precision bubble levels that I have. That's nice to know that these are both trustworthy. And if I wanted to do a really simple level, I could actually just throw these on top if I already know that my surface I'm mounting to is level, and I could use this as a gauge. The way I like to do this is in a diagonal pattern. So I'll start with 1 and just go a certain number of turns. In this case, I'm doing 3 turns, and I jumped diagonally across. Then I'm going to go up here. I'm going to start on the corner, get 3 turns, and then go diagonally, and I will alternate doing this pattern back and forth until the scope is snug. All right, when resetting the 0, all you're going to do is loosen up these Allens, which are on the turret cap housing, and after you loosen them up enough, you can lift it off. You'll find a 0 stop underneath, and you're also going to loosen up your 0 stop. I have a different tool with me right now, but it does come with the provided tool for you, which is going to work really nice. And I'm just going to rotate it all the way to the right, and that's going to stop all motion in the correct direction. And I'm going to tighten that up, just finger tight, doesn't need to be Hulk strength. Then I'm going to find the 0 marker and use that on the witness line, which is over on this side. And when I've got it exactly zeroed up on the witness line, I'll go ahead and start equally tightening each of the Allens. After installing my 0 stop, I'm just going to give a quick test to make sure the 0 stop is actually stopping, and it looks like it is. Here's what those turrets sound like. The windage and the elevation sound relatively similar. A little bit mushy, not the real crispy type. These are a little bit more of the smooth type that roll over, but I can feel the click and I can also hear it. All right, here's a view of your reticle. This is on 10 power exactly. My camera is going to cut just a little bit of the image off because I'm zoomed in. You try to back off a little more just to give you a picture of what that's going to look like. And back in so you can see that center crosshair portion. Here's a center dot with a couple hash lines around it. Go ahead and send around at this target right here. All right, so I can see that I'm going to be a little high. Now I can make some corrections to windage and elevation if I think I need to fix that. Lift to operate turrets on the windage. There, looks like about, yeah, looks like I got the windage there. Okay, I'm at 15 power right now. about 15 power. I'm going to go ahead and adjust my parallax for some further distance targets here. And then I go ahead and check for wobble and parallax error. Looks like it's got a nice size center dot. That's one thing I can always appreciate, is having a proper size center dot. And try to knock over some of these planks, and I think I'm going to hold about 2 MOA. I'm going to go for this one. There it is. Looked like about 10 MOA on that, maybe 12. The numerical indicators are on the left and the right, so that whether you're holding windage one way or another from your target, you'll be able to tell which MOA holdover you are on. And the holdovers are going to be my preferred way with this style of scope rather than dialing most of the time. That wind is going pretty good. If I can back off here, you can see that wind flag at 80 yards is definitely going left to right. So I'm going to make this adjustment and hold a little bit of windage on top of that. The windage markers there are easy for me to see. I'll zoom in a little more. I'll go back up to let's go up to 20 power. You should be able to see those windage markers a little better on 20 power. But for me with the eye, it's actually not too hard. And I think I'm just going to favor left edge right in here. Still a little right. I could see that I was about 4 MOA to the right. Just off the right edge. Just so that nobody gets uncomfortable, I've mounted the scope, instead of being to a rifle or something like that, even a fake rifle, I've mounted it to this right here, just a Picatinny platform, so that I can aim around at some different things and give you an idea of what the perspective is like at different distances without actually being attached to a gun. And this does abide by Amazon and YouTube policies, so this video should not be flagged. All right, let's take a look through the phone scope a little bit. This attachment right here is just so I can see through the scope. It does not come with a scope. This is how I'm giving you the image that you're going to be looking at of the reticle. All right, here's your field of view in full at 600 yards with the reticle on 5 power. I'll zoom in just a little bit so you can get an idea of the reticle better as I go through. Let's go up to 10 power. And there's 10 power. My camera is going to focus a little bit more on the background than it does the reticle at these magnifications. It would help slightly if I tip down, and I can just show you what that reticle is going to look like. There at about, where I'm aiming there is about 500 yards, and then back up to about 600 yards out here with those signs. Obviously a little distortion at the edges of the glass, which is to be expected, but not the worst. Let's move up to 15 power. A little bit more ideal at 15 power. I'm going to just block this for a second. And again at 15 power, here's your reticle. I wish my camera could focus on both, but it just can't. And here's 25 power. I'm going to change that focus one more time. Bring that reticle into focus, hopefully. There's 25 power. I can actually kind of make out the text, and the center dot is decent. It's a decent size. It's easy to pick up with the eyes. Okay, I'm going to go back down. Here's 20 power. Still decent field of view, not the worst. Here's 15 power. I would say the image is a little bit more optimized for right around 15 power, maybe 10 power is some of the better image that I'm seeing. At 15 power, I can still get a huge bite of the reticle though. And if I need to hold over, I can go almost all the way down there. If you can see that, pretty close to the edge, which I'd try not to. Let's go down to 10 power. And at 10 power, I can definitely see all of the reticle and use the full utility of my holdovers.